At a time we are dealing with numerous challenges in our nation, from the killings of young persons to the economic turmoil that we are facing, to numerous and various problems that the nation Kenya faces, I am here to give you unfiltered insight into these issues, one by one, as we delve into the details of these occurrences. My name is Chris Kushu, and this is my unfiltered insights. The issue of the Kenyan national debt baffles us every single day. To give you some hindsight, by the time President Mwai Kibaki was leaving power in 2013 and handing over the reins of power to the Jubilee government, the country had a total debt of 2.06 trillion Kenya shillings. This represented 50 to 56% of the national gross domestic product. In came the Jubilee administration. And in the tenure of 10 years, under President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Deputy President William Ruto, the country had accumulated an extra 6 trillion shillings in debt. The Jubilee government was marred by accusations of corruption, in which some of the cases we are seeing them being decided today, and culprits being jailed for stealing billions of shillings from the Republic. We lost over 300 billion shillings to the Eurobond scandal during that era. We undertook the standard gauge railway project, which was a good project but was marred by corruption, with an inflation of the initial cost to over 200%, 300%. A project that was initially supposed to cost 450 billion shillings, we were told in adjustment of inflation under that guise that now it costed over 800 billion shillings. And yet, it has never been revealed the full cost of that railway. Today, the default on the repayment of debt for the standard gauge railway project stands at over 40 billion shillings. Not just that. We saw scenes during the Jubilee government of roads, 1 kilometer of road being constructed with more than 1 billion shillings, while the same standard of road in another country was being constructed by less, half that. The SGR in Tanzania is electric today. The SGR in Kenya is not yet electric. The trains in Tanzania, the coaches, the engines being used are brand new. The engines and the coaches used in Kenya are ex Spanish, which were used years back by Spain, is what we are using today, with a few improvements here and there. But the costs do not justify the spending of over 800 billion on that project. By the time Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's government and that of the Deputy President then William Samoei Ruto was leaving power, the country had accumulated an extra 6 trillion shillings. In came the Kenya Kwanza government in 2022 September. They were overwhelmingly elected by the people. They were a darling of the people, sweeping to victory with a narrative of hustler versus dynasty, empowerment of the common mwananchi and pesa mfukoni slogans. 3 years down the line, that government has accumulated well over 3 trillion shillings. The national debt today stands at 11.8 trillion shillings. Since 2022, the dollar rate to Kenya shillings has slipped further. Our currency has lost more than 20 percentage points in value. Our education is heavily underfunded. And education is even becoming more expensive to the parents and unaffordable to the poor persons of this nation. School capitation has been reduced significantly. And there is a plan in January to reduce that capitation from 22,000 Kenya shillings to 9,000 Kenya shillings. Moi Kibaki borrowed for infrastructure, for the economic empowerment of small and medium business enterprises. He empowered SMEs, brought enterprises like motorbikes, which has employed thousands in terms of riders, and also employed thousands in terms of sellers of spare parts. He basically grew the economy tenfold. Moi Kibaki borrowed for free primary education. Moi Kibaki borrowed for the Thika superhighway. So far, 3 years down the line, we have borrowed over 4 trillion. Yet major projects have stalled. The administration hit by various scandals. Education is underfunded. A government plagued by overspending and wastage of public funds in matters that are not a priority to this nation. And the sister government, which was the Jubilee government, which basically had the very same people who are in the current administration, lost billions to corruption and individuals who seek to enrich themselves. They enrich themselves anyway. The big question is, Kibaki borrowed for free primary education. Kibaki borrowed for free secondary education. Kibaki borrowed for SME empowerment and for economic growth. What exactly did the Jubilee and the current Kenya Kwanza government borrow for? Where is all this money being taken to? These questions must be answered, as we are owed as the people of this republic. That is my unfiltered insight.